3, and you're live.
What is up? Welcome back to Tomahawk'd. I am your host, Rob Fox, joined as always by Dan Holloway. And we have a lot of happy stuff to talk about today because it was a good week of Braves baseball.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good year of Braves baseball so far. I guess they had one brief bad stretch there against the Astros.
Where they, blew games, too.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even like they just got dominated. They just kept choking away leads.
Yeah, they were up in at least 2 of those 3 losses, which is kind of disappointing, but...
Is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a good month so far, a good season so far. The Braves, I believe, have the second best record in baseball right now, only to the Rays, who are playing, goddamn out of their minds. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do? They're not in our league anyway, so I don't really fucking care.
No, and I don't really, honestly, I don't give a shit about regular season success in general, but...
I care about winning the division.
Yeah, winning the division's important, but
But I don't care about having the best record in the league necessarily. I mean, I like it for home. It's good for home field. So I'll say I'll care about having the best record, but not so much that it's like that I'm going to obsess over it. And, if hockey's taught us anything, it's that winning the President's Cup or trophy doesn't mean a god. It is the most. I think in hockey, there's they say it's a curse, right? Like winning the President's Trophy is a kiss of death.
I mean, in the Eastern Conference for sure. I don't know about I don't know that it's been a big problem in the Western Conference, but the Lightning and now the Bruins, the Lightning 2 years in a row got bounced.
I believe the Blues lost in the first round when I was a kid after winning in 8th grade or something after they won the President's Trophy as well.
Were they in because the conferences got realigned?
They've been in the West the whole time.
West the whole time.
Yeah.
But the only thing that really, when I look at the Braves overall, they're having to use certain people in the bullpen way too much. Like I think A.J. Metter's on pace for 84 appearances right now, and that's not good.
Not fucking ideal. We'll talk about that in a minute because there is, I guess, some relief coming. No pun intended.
Yeah. But and then the home record has not been very good either. But they've played, I think an extra 4-game series on the road so far. And they started out on the road when they were hot. They just haven't put it together at home yet. So we'll see how that goes.
And they've had some bizarre situations at home where, they got swept by the Astros at home. And then they lost 3 of 4 to the Padres at home. But then...
swept them, yeah. Well, I guess they won 3 out of 4 in San Diego.
I think they won 2 out of 3. But either way, they beat the Padres in San Diego, right? So it was just kind of... I don't really put much stock in home and road record unless one is, truly awful. I don't really put much stock in road record regardless because I think that is an especially fluky, lucky thing if you have an elite road record. It's good to be good on the road, especially for the playoffs, but it's not like you don't have some special skill where you're better at winning in Seattle than other teams. You know what I mean?
I don't understand it in the NBA, to be honest, is the one that really because the effect is more measurable in the NBA than I think any other sport other than maybe college football. The home field or home court advantage.
In college, both college sports, the home advantage is insane. But as far as pros go, it really feels like it's just the NBA. Because what fucking NFL stadium ever... I mean, the Arrowhead maybe?
Arrowhead
Mile
or maybe
High?
Seattle in the mid-2010s was pretty tough. The 12th man bullshit, but you don't see that much in baseball, to be honest.
No,
I mean usually it's home team fans fucking over the home team, like Steve Bartman and shit.
They get a little bit pumped up. I mean, certainly it's not easy to go into
you get the last at bat. There's an actual tangible benefit, and in hockey you get the last line change and shit. So I guess to some degree there's a tangible benefit there, but football you don't get shit. You still got to flip a coin,
Right.
So I don't know what that's all about. At any rate, it doesn't hurt that we have the 2 best players in baseball on our team right now. And you can say whatever you want about people that are more talented than, or as talented or more talented than one or both of these guys, but performance has been the best for these 2 so far.
And, personally, I don't think, aside from Shohei Ohtani, that you could make an argument that there's anyone more talented than Ronald Acuña Jr. Certainly, mentally you could, right? On mental side of the game, you could make a case for a lot of people. But in terms of physical gifts, and the ability to apply those physical gifts. It's not like there's athletes who are freaks but just can't even. And that's not even like a mental side of the game. It's like they just can't even fully apply themselves.
Like Billy Beane was like that. He couldn't handle the pressure.
Yeah,
and like he was a legit 5-tool guy. I mean, that's kind of what the whole Moneyball thing was about. But yeah, there's been lots of players like that over the years.
Right.
Ultra talented, but they just can't get it together.
And that becomes before, like, when I say mental, I mean like film and situational, not necessarily like handling pressure or even just being able to execute. Like, so Acuna to me is, there's no one more talented than him in baseball, with the exception of Ohtani, because Ohtani is a freak. But yeah, Acuna and Sean Murphy currently lead the Major League Baseball in FWAR, Fangraphs wins above replacement. With Acuña's got 2.0, Sean Murphy has 2.1. This is as of this morning, so that includes yesterday's game, in which I believe Murphy had an RBI and Acuna had a fucking. Was Acuña's home run yesterday? That fucking dong, or was that 2 days ago?
2 days ago. I think yesterday was the Ozuna 450 footer.
Yeah. Ozuna's got 3 in his last 4, but I don't really want to talk about him yet.
No, I don't care about him.
These guys both, by the way, I checked. So the first thing I did was like, okay, these guys are leading batters. Then I checked pitchers. Zach Gallen of the Diamondbacks also has 2 wins above replacement as a pitcher. So he is the only other player with 2. But I was like, oh, you know what? It's obviously not fair to just take Ohtani hitting or Ohtani pitching. So what has he racked up in both of those? And Ohtani is a hair behind at 1.9. So these guys are both outproducing Shohei Ohtani right now. Zach Gallen's the only guy, and Zach Gallen is probably the front runner for the Cy Young right now in the National League. The only guy who's matched them. And, dude, diving into the numbers a little bit, we'll start with Acuna. One thing I've noticed, and this was backed up by when I looked at this, is that Acuña's not really doing this with a ton of power. He is hitting for power, but it's not like he's got 9 or 10 home runs. I think he's got 6.
Yep.
He's just been getting on base a ton and hitting a ton of base hits.
Yeah, he's leading the league in hits, I think. Or maybe Araz is ahead of him now because he's just been on a fucking
He's hitting
tear.
like 440 or some shit, yeah.
But yeah, he's on pace for like 220-some hits, 56 doubles, 30 home runs, 101 RBI. And we'll see how that goes. He's also brought his strikeout rate down considerably.
Really?
So, yeah, so I think, let me check. Last season.
So Acuna, by the way, second in the major leagues in hits. Bo Bichette's got 45. Acuña's got 44. Arez has 42.
So last year, so the pre-COVID year, his what could have been his MVP year in 2019, 188 strikeouts. Last year was 126, and this year he's on pace for about 100. So he's brought that down considerably. And 15 steals as well, which is technically, I guess that would put him on pace for 60 steals this year, which, I mean, so I think the reason I'm bringing that up is because I think these numbers by Acuna are sustainable. I think he's probably a 30-30, possibly if he gets hot, a 40-40 guy. He's probably going to be a 30-50 guy, which is to say 30 home runs, 50 doubles. Outside shot at 100 RBIs, it depends on how the lower part of the order does. You can't really control that. But definitely going to steal 40 to 50 bases.
And presumably score 100 runs.
He'll score. He'll score like 130 plus runs probably at this pace.
Yeah.
He's on pace for 150 right now, but he'll probably get 130. I don't know that just because of the wear and tear on your fucking body that Murphy will be able to sustain the same way. Because he's a catcher. Now, he does, especially when Darno gets back next week sometime probably, he'll start getting 2 days off a week just to DH, which is nice because you keep that bat in the lineup. But I find it hard to believe that he's going to get 12 wins above replacement as a catcher because nobody's ever – I think the highest WAR for a catcher ever Hack Wilson in that year that he had 190 RBI had like a 7.8 or something like that. So I don't know what the highest for a catcher ever is, but there's only been 3 dudes in history to get a 12 wins above replacement, and that's Rogers, Hornsby, Carl Yastrzemski, and Babe Ruth did it 3 times.
Well, I know there actually have been some like pretty insane catcher wins above replacement years after Fangraphs added in framing statistics. Because I know Brian McCann's wins above replacement just shot like through the fucking roof. But his best year after they added framing, but his best year was 8.6 in 2008. And he hit 300 and slugged 500, 135 WRC plus, only 23 homers or whatever. But obviously the on base and slugging skills were there. But the defense, his defense was absurd that year. Framing being the primary thing because he's not much of a stealing guy, caught stealing guy. But Murphy has both the framing skills and the stealing skills. But yeah, you're going to want him in there in big games, right? To control the running game or in games against fast teams. But yeah, I do agree with you. Like he shouldn't be behind the plate more than 50% of the time until the playoffs, when he should probably be in there 3/4 of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the matchup, right? The team that you're playing against. If you're playing a team that can't run very well, then it doesn't necessarily matter. But d'Arnaud, while he's really good at receiving and calling games, which frankly,
it's more important than
throwing out base runners for sure. But he's not good at throwing out base runners.
No,
he's pretty bad at it actually. But most catchers in Major League Baseball, look. I think the league-wide average is 83% success right now. So I don't know, just being able to pick off a couple of guys here and there, and it's like just having a right fielder that throws dudes out. Just being in the back of their mind a little bit will affect the way they play, and that's all you're really looking for.
Exactly. Yeah, it really is more like it's almost like a mutually assured destruction type thing, right? Like you don't even bother to fight because you're more hesitant to do that type of thing. But with Acuña, I agree with you about the sustainability because, like I said, like it's been a lot of base hits. It's been a lot of not cheap base hits or anything like that, but it's just he's getting a lot of hits. He's second in the league in hits, obviously. The numbers on him right now are fucking nuts. His batting average on balls in play is .392. If he puts his bat to the ball and it stays between the lines, he's fucking Tony Gwynn. Mm-hmm. That's fucking insane.
It's pretty wild, yeah.
And what'd you say? His strikeout rate is down like almost 50%, is something like
since 2019, yeah. So last year was pretty good. He was at 126, although he missed like the first half month of the season.
And was never really truly healthy. I mean, yeah.
So let me see.
So last year, his strikeout rate was 23.6%. This year he's at 15. It's never been below 23.6.
Yeah, I mean that is to shed 8% in 1 year. That's fucking crazy, especially when you're talking about a guy that every year has an MVP type season.
Yep.
Now we have played some pretty subpar teams to open up the season. We're getting into the more difficult part of our schedule.
Well, we're in
now,
it.
Yeah. But I don't know that. It certainly hasn't affected him. I mean, if you look at his performance over the last 7 days, for example, he's 7 for 19 with 2 home runs and 7 RBI. You can live with that. You can live with 7 RBI per 20 at bats.
Right.
You know.
The thing is, though, so typically we say with Babbitt, high batting average on balls in play, a sign of luck. Right. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not everything because he's fast as fuck. So faster players are going to typically have higher batting average on balls in play, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, I'm seeing a ton of base hits from him. He's second in the league in hits. And obviously a little bit of that is from getting extra at bats because he's the leadoff hitter. But he's hitting 355. So the rate is there too. I think a lot of this is because the shift is gone.
That's certainly part of it because of all the power hitters in baseball, he's probably the most adept at going the other way, and not just for power, right? He's got a real see ball, hit ball, strong wrist approach. It's like Hank Aaron, right? That's how he hit. Mm-hmm. The reason, like if you if you looked at Hank Aaron's forearms, if you look at him standing here in front of you in his prime at like 27 years old, he wouldn't look like much. I mean, he looked like a fucking athlete for sure. But if you just saw him grip a bat and see how much his wrists swell up when he does that, that was the old trick from that escape artist.
Houdini?
Yeah, Houdini. The way he would get out of handcuffs is he would flex his wrist muscles up really big and let him cuff him, and then he would relax him and just tuck his thumb in. But that dude had incredibly strong, and you can't teach this. I guess maybe there's something you can do as a child to make it more to swing a bat every fucking day of your life in the Dominican somewhere. But yeah, his ability to just flip the bat kind of, and it looks like sometimes he's just given up on the pitch, but it still has like a 97 exit velo.
Yeah.
And it's a line drive into the gap. Nobody does that like Ronald Acuna.
I mean, his home run to dead center the other day, he does this all the time. You're like, oh, I think he got that one, and then it's 420 feet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like his home runs to center field do not look like they're going to go over 400 feet off the bat necessarily, and then they just fucking go. But one thing I think with the shift, now this is anecdotal, but I remember him hitting a lot of hard grounders essentially into the shift. But when I say into the shift, I don't necessarily mean to the right. Like
it's up the middle mostly.
Up the middle,
yeah.
Right. He kind of hit into the end of the shift, right? Into the back half of the shift. Now they can't really play him up the middle like that at all. I mean, he's getting all these worm burning, like they're on the ground but they're fucking smoked base hits up in the kind of center of the field between the shortstop and second baseman, a lot of times through the pitcher, and those are hits now. Then they weren't hits the last couple of years. And what's really interesting too is he's not, again, just throwing the bat like you said. He's making contact. He has the highest exit velocity of his career right now. It's at 95.2 is his average exit velocity.
That's pretty good.
That's fucking crazy. You'd be a major league pitcher if you could throw the ball consistently 95. And he's averaging, if his bat touches it, if his bat touches the ball, the average speed off the bat is 95.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's pretty solid. And here's the fucking craziest thing about him. So, like I said, batting average on balls in play, right? That's luck, typically. Or it's a signifier of luck, potentially. If anything, according to the other sort of luck predictors, Acuña is getting unlucky, kind of significantly unlucky. His slugging percentage is .589, but with his exit velocity, his expected slugging percentage is .674.
So how do they get? I mean, is this that it's based on exit velo, but he's hitting he's being positioned well in the outfield? Probably is what's happening.
I would think so, because it also takes into account like launch angle and stuff like that. So because obviously they know that you're probably not getting a double on a ground ball hit 95, even if you hit it for a hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so and by the way, 674, 589, that's the difference between like a good hitter and like Albert Pujols MVP year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is a massive difference. That is, let me see what Barry. I'm just gonna look up Barry Bonds, because why the fuck not? If you're gonna talk slugging percentage, you might as well talk Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds had a career slugging percentage of .607 when he hit. Well, when he hit 73 home runs, his slugging percentage was .863.
That's stupid.
But the year before, when he hit 49, I mean, you're talking .688, .617. So his expected slugging percentage right now is 60 points higher than Barry Bonds' career slugging percentage. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And his expected weighted on base average, which is another luck predictor or whatever, a signifier, that's also 30 points higher than his actual weighted on base average. He's not getting the full potential of his contact yet, even.
And maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's just great positioning.
100%.
Who knows? But it does demonstrate that it's not luck. Now, you could say the same for Murphy, because the biggest key indicator from him season to season. One, he's playing in ballparks where you can actually hit home runs, which is nice.
Yep, not playing in Oakland anymore.
But it's not he's not carrying over the same. The exit velo is the same, but he's not carrying over the same stats, and he's just getting success now. He's actually improved from last season, right? His barrel rate's up quite a bit.
His barrel rate is 10 points higher than his career best. Essentially, he is barreling almost 1 out of every 4 balls that he makes contact with.
You can deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, these two guys are just on a fucking tear. Now, granted, look, that's a month, essentially, right? A month and a week.
Yeah.
So this is still... You wouldn't fully call this a small sample size, right? It's not like, man, whoever the fuck's hitting 500 after 2 weeks, but it's somewhere in between. Like, this is player of the... I mean, I think Acuna did win player of the month for the Nationals.
He did, yeah. Although very well could have been Murphy. I mean, if you look at the performance relative to position, it maybe should have been Murphy, to be honest. Similar F4, and doing so at the catcher position, although he, for the first 2 weeks, did sub out to DH quite a bit. He's performing on both sides of the ball. Not that Acuña's not. He's played good defense too, but playing good defense at catcher and playing good defense at right field, not the same. There's a lot of good right fielders.
Right.
But again, he's at 2 WAR so far. I mean, that puts him on pace for like 11 and a half. And again, I don't think that'll happen. It's just hard as a catcher to sustain that. But the highest WAR F4 ever, so Fangraphs wins above replacement in a season for a catcher was 2012 Buster Posey.
Yeah, which he won MVP, I believe.
10.1, yeah. And then before that, it's like 9.2 with Johnny Bench in 72, Mike Piazza 97 at 9.1, and those are the only ones over 9. So if he hits 9, he's one of the best. It's one of the best years, one of the top 5 years for a catcher ever.
Oh, so that McCann year is like a top 5 year for a catcher ever.
Yeah, he was 8.6.
Yeah.
He's number 4 on that list.
That's crazy.
Joe Mauer's MVP year at 2009 is number 5.
Yeah. And
then Gary Carter, I think, won MVP in 82 for the Expos as well, and he's on here at 8.4. But yeah, he's reaching rarefied air, and the interesting thing is he's just now entering his prime. He's got another. He's 28, right?
Let me double check.
27 maybe. So he's got another 3 or 4 years in his prime, like his physical prime.
Yeah, he's 28.
Yeah, so this is definitely another good signing by Alex Anthopoulos.
And it's so funny too because people were like, what the fuck? Like, not only do we have Travis d'Arnaud, we have William Contreras.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you... Meanwhile, left field is like a black hole of question marks. But I have no fucking complaints about Sean Murphy being on the team. I didn't really, because I kind of am more or less trusting in Anthopoulos. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, you have the Ozuna extension is weird. And we gave Rosario a contract too, right? The Rosario one I think is more forgivable, though, because he had a freak injury last year.
Yeah. It was also for quite a bit less money.
Yeah,
per annum. I think it's like $7 million a year, not 22 or whatever the fuck right. for Ozuna.
But man, I mean, these two guys are playing out of their fucking mind. The Acuna stuff, though, is just eye popping to me. And we talked about it at the beginning of the year. We've complained about it on the show a lot. Where it's like, he's so talented, and it's like. He's already had these crazy impressive statistical years, right? He just barely missed a 40-40 year. Like, he's already there, but it's just like, will he, start to grow up and will the approach change a little bit, the maturity? And I don't need him to not be like a goofball or anything like that. That's fine. Like, Ozzy's a goofball, and Ozzy's like maybe the most mature fucking guy on the team. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, I need to see maturity in the approach, maturity in the consistency of focus, I guess you could say. And specifically the way he is attacking, the way he understands that he can just put the bat on the ball now and good things will happen. Yeah. I mean, again, it's a month and a half, a month and a week, whatever. That bodes well to me.
I mean, it's a sustainable approach. You're gonna have some months where 4 or 5, 6 hits don't go your way, and that's how it is, right? And that's if it's 4 or 5 hits, then it's 8 or 10 point difference, not point, but it's an 8 or 10 hit to at bat ratio difference because you're getting out in those at bats too. So you're gonna see a little bit of fluctuation in that. I don't know that he's going to hit 370 this year, right?
Right.
But we'll see. We'll see. Now, Albies has got 9 home runs already.
Albies and Olsen, both. I just want to note, by the way, with Acuna, I forgot to put his slash line down, but he is his on base percentage is .445 right now, which is also obscene. Yeah,
that's good. I mean, he's let's see, he's gonna walk about 100 times this year.
Yeah, and his walk rate is in the middle of the pack for his career so far in terms of best seasons. In 2020, obviously it was a shortened season, but he walked almost 20% of his at bats, which is crazy.
I think he's better off when he's more aggressive, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yeah,
especially now that he doesn't have to worry about the shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. But what were you saying about Albies? Sorry.
He's been pretty consistent so far this year.
Yes.
He's historically been kind of an up-down guy. And look, it's the first month, so maybe the next month will suck. But he's been really consistent in his approach so far this season. And he's hitting bombs from both sides of the plate. Usually it's like he gets off to a slow start from the left side, but it's the splits right now are 4 and 5. So he's got 5 home runs against right-handers, so as a lefty, and 4 against lefties as a righty. Righty, usually he gets the bulk of his home runs. Now he's hitting quite a bit better right-handed. He's hitting .426 right-handed and .205 left-handed.
Which is how it goes. He's a better right-handed hitter,
yeah.
Which sucks because obviously you don't face as many lefties as you do righties. But he wants to keep the switch hitting thing going, which I don't know. I mean, who might? He's one of the best second basemen in baseball.
Yeah.
So for now, I'll let it go. And he has the best WRC plus of his career by quite a bit right now. 135. I think his best season before that was 2019 when he had 116. And he's doing it without getting on base really very well. I mean, it's all essentially he's just he's slugging the shit out of the ball. Let me see what his exit velocity is, but his slugging percentage is over 5.
Yeah, he's on pace to walk 35 times this year, I think.
Yeah.
For him may even be a career low. I don't know what his career low is.
He's not getting a ton of walks. His exit velocity's fine.
92.
Yeah, but his exit velocity's 87.9. That's actually not what you want really. But his barrel rate is 14%. Which is about 5 points higher than his career best before that. So he's hitting the shit. And by the way, how many games did he play last year?
Like 70 maybe.
Okay.
It wasn't a full season.
He played 64 games last year. He has played half. He's played 32. So he's played literally 50% of the games he played last year. He already has 41 hard hit balls this year. He only had 54 last year. So he's doing something right. That's interesting, though, that he's barreling the ball so much, but not necessarily. It's got to be like a Vaughn Grissom situation, right?
Yeah, I've been paying more attention to that, and I think that those write-ups, O'Brien and those guys in the AJC preseason, once he got sent down, I think they were wrong about that because the more I watch it, the more it's a median situation. Like he hits a lot of dribblers, but he crushes balls a lot as well. So I'm not too concerned about him.
And so it would appear perhaps that Albies is doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, how many times you see him hit? You know what he's not good at? He, especially left-handed. He's a little bit better at it right-handed, going the other way. You'll see him punch one through the left side, left-handed every now and again, but he doesn't have that wrist control that Ronald Acuna has.
Yeah.
To when he sees that ball going towards the outside, especially if it's an off-speed pitch, just to take his body out of the equation and fucking flip the fucking barrel at it. And you would think a guy like he does a really good job of putting the barrel on the ball, so that might be something he's. It's funny to think about this after all the success those guys have had, but he's 26 years old, right?
Right.
Still fucking kid, so who knows how he's going to develop as time goes on.
2 years younger than Murphy, who were like, oh, he's just entering his prime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with Albies, and with the second baseman especially, I mean, yeah, that your prime is still 28 to 32, really, right? So he's not even there yet.
Nope.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
And then, Olsen's having an incredible year, too. He's already got 9 home runs. I mean, it's just the lineup's doing great, except for, I'll skip ahead of this since we talked about the line doing great, and then we'll go back to the other one. Austin Riley. at this point, it's not. It's beyond just being like, oh, small sample size, whatever. It's a full-on slow start, a slump to start the season. Riley, our 3-hole hitter, not doing well so far. 248, 340, 430 is his line. And the 340 on base percentage is essentially what's keeping him above water as an offensive player right now. He is walking the best of his career rate-wise. That's up 4%. But he's not slugging. He's not hitting for average. Two things he usually does. And a huge part of that is his barrel rate is about 50% less than it was last year over the year.
Yeah, it's probably time for some kind of adjustment. I mean, so it's only been about the last 2 weeks, actually.
Okay.
If you look at the course of the season so far, it's about the last 2 weeks. So the first 3 weeks of April, he was coming in more at like a 270. He had 5 home runs and 14 RBI, and since then, it's for the last 15 days or so, it's been pretty shitty.
And he did hit a home run yesterday.
Yeah, and he's like that. He has good months and bad months. Sometimes when he gets hot, he's really hot. But this is, I think it's almost always approach with him. We talked about it late last season before he got super hot. Or after he got super hot in July. I think he slugged like 880 in July or some shit like that last year. It's approach. Like you see him go up there and watch strikes and swing at balls. And that's what he's doing right now. And that's why his barrel rate sucks, because he's ended up having to swing at shitty pitches behind in counts and stuff like that. He's not getting his pitch. Or, sometimes maybe you're just fucking overthinking stuff and you're looking for something and you're just not getting that pitch. He's striking out a lot. He's striking out a third of the time right now.
Striking out a third of the time, and his launch angle is way down as well. Compared to his career averages.
Yeah.
So
what's probably, if his launch angle's down, he's almost certainly getting pitched down in the zone and being overly aggressive on pitches down in the zone. That's what that usually means. And especially these days where almost every pitcher, even guys that throw mid to upper 90s are throwing sinkers now, you got to see the ball up. You just have to, you know what I mean? So it's an approach thing with him. It always is. So, Chipper needs to come ring his bell a little bit.
And Chipper is allowed back with the team this year.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything weird like another Sandy Hook tweet. It was a COVID situation. So he wasn't dumb MLB rules, wasn't allowed around the team for 2 years or something weird like that. But he is an associate hitting coach again or whatever the fuck, assistant hitting coach, special assistant, because he doesn't travel with the team. I think he kind of shows up when he wants to. But
yeah. I think he's got a full-time job sitting at the bar at Hooters, and then that's his backup.
It's where he breaks down the film.
Yeah.
But yes, I hopefully Chipper talks to him soon, and Seitzer as well. Obviously the
actual
Braves hitting coach. Yeah. But I'm not I'm not worried about Austin Riley. It does just kind of suck that the last, 2 weeks in particular, it's man, he's just kind of had a hole in his swing or just not looked totally right. But again, home run yesterday. Maybe that'll turn things around.
Well, let's look at the splits, right? So on 0-0 counts, 4 for 13, 308. So when he's aggressive early in the count, on 0-1 counts, he's hitting 444. But he gets to 0-2 a lot. He's got more 0-2 at-bats than 0-1 at-bats, which means he's not getting good pitches to hit on 0-1 or 1-0 because he's only got 8 1-0 at-bats. So early in the count, not great. 1-1, 1-2 is where most of his at-bats come from. So I don't know if he's taking a lot of strikes early in at-bats.
Not pulling the trigger?
Yeah, but he's hitting 231, and his slugging percentage is fucking 259 on 1-2 counts, where the bulk of his at-bats are coming from. And then 2-2, 2 balls, 2 strikes, 19 at-bats, 1 hit, 053. That's not going to get it, So it's being aggressive more. So, but then again, when he goes 3-1, 3-2, he's hitting 500. Right.
Yeah, so his WRC plus is 3.0, 3.1. I mean, sorry, fuck 3.0, 3.1. You're always going to hit well there. His WRC plus with full counts, 3.05.
And that tells me that he's getting hyper focused. I mean, like in 3-2, you're looking for you're still looking for a fucking tunnel. You're looking for a specific pitch. Sometimes you're going to get fooled or whatever the fuck. But you want to be aggressive on 3-2 because you know that fucker doesn't want to walk you, especially not with, all the other dudes coming up behind
Right.
you. So, whenever I look at his data, it's almost always an approach issue. Same thing with last. We had the same exact conversation last year.
Yeah, and it is what it is. It's you just want to make sure he's locked in at the right time of year, and he is the type of guy that'll carry you for a month, almost by himself, the same way a lot of guys in our lineup are. Real quick, before we keep going, we do have some sponsors, specifically MyBookie. MyBookie.com is where you can go to place all your baseball bets, along with pretty much anything else you can imagine gambling on. If you use the promo code Drinkin' Bros, you can double your first deposit up to $1,000. So if you put in $1,000, they will give you a free $1,000. Now you have $2,000 to play with. Put in $100, they'll give you a free $100, so on and so forth. You get the idea. Any good baseball bets that you made this week that you were happy with, or anything coming up this weekend you think are interesting?
So Cubs, Marlins in Chicago this weekend. Today, actually, Justin Steele is pitching for the Cubs at home. He's fucking crazy. He's probably on pace to be the Cy Young winner in the National League right now. He's fucking. It's either him or that kid from Arizona. Really like that game, and if you want to parlay the Cubs tonight, actually that game starts at 1:20, so you better get on that. It's 1:20 Central, so it starts in 15 minutes. Parlay Cubs, Rays versus Yankees, take the Rays. Take the Braves versus the Orioles, and then where's the other one I was looking at? Mets versus Rockies. Singa's pitching for the Mets. He's given up some runs and some starts, but against a team that hasn't seen him before, it's going to be an outlier for them, so he'll win that game. I'm parlaying those 4 teams today.
And the Rockies are god-awful.
They're terrible, yeah, but especially in I expect the Mets to do dumb shit sometimes, but they probably can't fuck that one up.
Right.
Those are 4 games that I am 90% sure the team I said is going to win. Because Max Fried is pitching against the Orioles. Unlikely they're going to get to him. Although they have some great young hitters. But just up and down the lineup, it's not like...
Yeah, the Orioles are very good, but it's Fried. Yeah, it's the ace.
So Cubs, Rays, Orioles, and Mets. And you better get that in.
No, Braves.
Cubs, Rays, Braves, Mets. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I meant the Orioles game. But yeah, parlay those 4. Parlay the money line for those 4. That's where you'll get the best value.
Yeah, because otherwise it's minus or plus 1.5.
Yeah.
I suppose if one of those teams is a dog, you could take the... Well, you would want to take the money line if the team's a dog, so fuck me.
I wouldn't... Like, the plus 1.5 is too much. Like, you're going to get slightly lower odds, but it's still... It'll come out pretty good.
Yeah.
You can make a $10 bet and make a couple $100.
I guess if you wanted to, you could go... instead of money line, if you want to get your odds a little better, you could go just -1. Can you buy up a half point and then risk a push?
Yeah, maybe. I haven't looked into that on my. I always just do it the normal way. But I'm sure. Yeah, they're pretty fluid. My book is pretty fluid on the way you can do stuff.
Yeah, because if one of your games pushes in a parlay, it just gets eliminated from the parlay. It doesn't end the parlay. So that's a way you could improve your odds if you wanted to. But yeah. MyBookie.com. Use promo code Drinkin' Bros. Get some free money to play with. Next up, there's still a lot of roster weirdness with the Braves, fluctuation with the Braves. The big news is that Raisel Iglesias is back on the team. So we have a closer again, and AJ Minter doesn't need to pitch every fucking day anymore.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think they should give him a week off. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. He has been throwing constantly. What did you say? He was on pace for 84 games or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I have to look again. But
that's some Johnny Venters shit.
Yeah, fuck that. I mean, obviously, I think Snit was just... Well, he's a Braves manager, so that means intrinsically he's bad at managing a bullpen. But yeah, he's thrown 16 games already, and we're 22-10, so we're 32 games in. He's thrown half.
Yeah.
Nope.
Can't do that. You know who else is thrown, but I feel like showing up in about half our games is Chavez.
Yeah, but who cares? His arm's going to fall off at some point.
I actually think he's so old that it will never fall off.
He may be calcified at this point.
Yeah, I think he can probably pitch 100 games in a year.
Let's see. Yeah, he's thrown 15. Dylan Lee's thrown 15 as well. So we definitely need some backup.
And that's probably not something that'll happen yet. Yates hasn't even pitched yet, right? Or did Yates just come back up?
No, he's thrown 11 games so far.
Is it McHugh then that just came back?
Yeah, McHugh was out for a little bit. He's thrown 7 so far. So, between Yates and McHugh, you're doing all right. Joe Jimenez has done pretty well. Nick Anderson's done pretty well. They're all whips. So Nick Anderson's whip is .73. That's what you want out of a reliever. Colin McHugh has had a high whip. So Jimenez and Yates are at 1.3 and 1.5 respectively, but McHugh's been bad at 1.6. But he also was injured, like arm inflammation and shit.
Right.
So who knows how much that lent to it, but he's we definitely need some help with regard to and to be honest, Minter has just gotten unlucky a couple of times and had a couple of bad games. I mean, he's given up big home runs.
Mm-hmm. I'm not worried. I'm certainly not worried about AJ Minter long term over the season. It's just been a weird thing, and I think we're 6th in the majors in bullpen WHIP with 1.15. So that'll
there's been like 2 bad series. That one against Houston was the biggest problem for the whole season. But yeah, I mean, with Iglesias back and Edwin Diaz out, I think Clase and Iglesias are certainly the best. Which Clase or Iglesias came from Cleveland as well, didn't he?
We got him from the Angels.
From the Angels.
But I don't know where he was. I don't remember where he was.
I think he may have come up through the Indians farm system. But either way, Clase, I don't know if you've been paying attention to him lately, but he looks like Mariano Rivera. He is destroying bats. I'm not talking about...
Oh, Iglesias was a red.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I'm not talking about a broken bat off the label where it fucking... you kind of see it wobble a little bit and the guy throws the bat down. I'm talking about shattered bats. Like cutters that are going off not the label, but the handle. Right? Or to a right-hander going off the very end of the bat and just like splintering everywhere and shattering. I haven't seen anybody do it this consistently since, and maybe this is anecdotal because it just happens when I happen to watch their games, but I haven't seen anybody do it this consistently since Mariano Rivera, to be honest. And it's that kid is really fucking good.
He's filthy. I can't remember where the Indians are in the standings right now. That whole division is fucking awful. But
nobody's worse than the White Sox over there.
Well, the Royals might beg a difference.
Yeah, but the White Sox actually have players.
Yeah, that's true. The Royals have an excuse. Indians are second place, but they're 14 and 17. They're only 3.5 out there. I mean, some god-awful team is going to win that division.
Mm-hmm.
So Iglesias is back. That's huge. And then, obviously, McHugh just came back not that long ago. The bullpen's kind of falling into place. I do expect a move or two at some point in the season.
Yeah, I mean, there's some teams, that don't need great relievers, I guess. Not that they have no hope or anything, but it's like if you've got a guy that's starting to show promise as a closer right now, but you're in a rebuild, if the guy's in his early 20s, maybe hang on to him, like Clase with the Indians. I think he's 24. But David Bednar at the Pirates and look, they're doing really well right now, so maybe that continues. Seems unlikely it'll continue because their roster sucks.
Yeah.
But if the Pirates start losing and Bednar continues to play like he is, the Pirates have a history of making deadline deals like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's somebody that's on my radar. Carlos Estevez from the Angels is on my radar. He's a little bit older. He's 30. I don't know if the Angels are going to give us both of their closers back-to-back years.
The Angels are completely in the running right now.
Certainly, but that won't last.
We'll talk about that a little later, but I hope it does. But
I would love to see Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout in the fucking playoffs. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. But there's a lot of dudes. I think that our biggest need right now is a right-handed power arm out of the bullpen, because that's the one thing we don't have. We don't have any hard-throwing right-handers out of the bullpen.
No. Wait, is Iglesias right-handed, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
But other than him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jimenez throws mid to high 90s, I guess, but is not as he's. Hold on, let me see what his strikeout rate is. I don't think it's very high. Too many clicks.
By the way, when the Braves traded Craig Kimbrell in their 2015 sort of rebuild situation, 2014, 2015 was when the rebuild. I think 2014 is when it started. But
was he 28 at the time?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was in his prime at that point. He was maybe the best closer in baseball. They traded him and B.J. Upton, or Melvin Upton Jr., I guess he wanted to start going by, to the Padres for Matt Whistler, who was supposed to be a great prospect, didn't really work out. And then Carlos Quentin, Cameron Maben, blah, blah, blah. That was just backfill to put on the roster. We did also receive a compensation pick, and that became Austin Riley. We got Max Fried from the Padres as well, but that was a year earlier when we traded Justin Upton to the Padres. We got Fried, Malik Smith, who didn't pan out but was a really good prospect, and Jace Peterson, Dustin Peterson, blah, 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 blah. But Max Fried was the one. So, yeah, you would think. I mean, that is the best asset you can have, I feel like, as a rebuilding team, is an elite reliever.
Yeah, I mean, and they're out there. Arizona's got a guy I can't remember his name. Chafin, maybe, is that him? Andrew Chafin, does that sound right?
I haven't watched a lot of Diamondback games this year.
They've got a late inning reliever over there that's pretty good as well. That's who you're looking at. Maybe if somebody develops in Kansas City on the back end of their bullpen, take a look at them.
There's one guy in Kansas City.
Who? Zach Greinke?
No, Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about him. I mean, how's he looking this year? I haven't really paid much attention.
I haven't looked. Obviously, he's got the velocity. He's just like a piece of shit, though, and that's before you even get into the domestic abuse shit.
Yeah. He's also 35, so I don't know how much you would want to give up for a guy. I mean, he would be a 1-year rental.
You wouldn't give up a lot. I mean, he's still him. He's still himself. He's got a 3.09 ERA, but his expected ERA is 1.61. The Royals are letting him down. His strikeout per 9 is 14.6.
That's normal. Whip at 1.2 is pretty high for a closer, though. Although he's not in the closer role. He's
not, and also I think he's always, at least on the back half of his career, his whip has been. He's not a sub-1 guy.
I mean, you can walk guys if you strike guys out. That's
and Kimbrell was kind of that way too, where Kimbrell was.
Oh yeah.
Oftentimes getting a save over the course of like 5 batters in one inning.
Yeah.
The fuck? Give me advanced stats, you bitch. I mean, I don't want to really trade for Chapman, except for the fact that he might be cheap. But
no, we've got enough domestic violence on our team. I think.
Yeah. But yeah, it's where is his whip? Now I'm just curious.
Whose whip are you looking for?
Chapman's.
So Joe Jimenez his strikeout number is a little bit down this season, but still pretty good. He's striking out 29.5% of batters, 11.7 per 9. His walks are actually down this year, which is nice, but he's given up a lot of home runs. To be honest, at this point in the season, that's probably an outlier. Like, dudes don't just start giving up a bunch of home runs, and you'll see two things happen. The strikeout rate will go up typically because they're out of the zone more, but the walk rate will also go up, and then home runs will go up because they have to groove pitches. That's the typical trend for that. So I think he's just having some bad luck right now, but we definitely need, I think, another right-handed power guy in the bullpen, but we've got until August to deal with that shit. Because right now we're 22-10. If we're going to win 70% of our fucking games up until then, we can take our time and figure some shit out.
100%. That's purely for the playoffs. Like I think we were talking about the other day via text. Like, this bullpen is a great regular season bullpen. And with Minter and Iglesias at the back end, that's great for the postseason.
Yeah.
But you need 1 or 2 more just like...
And Dylan Lee chews up innings too. Like, he's your 6, 7 inning guy, right?
Yeah.
Or one of them. Like, if whomever comes out that's dominant towards the end of the season, whether it's Jimenez or that other motherfucker that's new. What the hell's his name? Damn it.
I'm still getting used to this bullpen.
Nick Anderson has done well as well. Colin McHugh has been really good in both of the last 2 postseasons.
You would think McHugh or Yates would be the 5th or 6th inning guy in a playoff game.
Well,
typically.
I mean, but you can if one or both of Anderson and Jimenez is sharp at that time, then you can turn every game into a 5-inning game, right?
Right.
And especially when you have 2 closers, one from each side of the plate, and then you have Fried, Strider, Elder, and then Morton or Soroka or whomever it happens to be. Like if you run into them in the playoffs, you're fucked basically.
Hopefully.
So especially with this lineup, this is the best Braves team I've ever seen.
Yeah, top to bottom by far.
Especially when everyone is healthy. And we'll see what happens with Kyle Wright. I think he's going to need surgery, to be honest. Like getting that many shoulder inflammation problems in short periods like that, it's never a good sign. It means something either is mechanically fucked up with his delivery, or there's some underlying condition like bone spurs or looseness in the shoulder that needs to get rehabbed. So
yeah.
I honestly don't expect to see him back this year. I know that's pessimistic, but I don't expect to see him back.
It is what it is. I would say the one team that probably maybe competes with this is the 97 Braves. That team was also obscene. They went 4 deep on the rotation with obviously the big 3, and then Denny Nagel had an incredible year that year.
Yeah, I think he went 19-5 or some shit.
Something
that year,
crazy. No, he went 20-5 actually.
Oh boy.
With a what was his 2.97 ERA. I mean, we had the top 4 starters for the Braves. Only one of them had an ERA over 3, and it was Smoltz with a 3.02 ERA.
And the win total for the starters was like 84 or 88 games or some shit, right?
Maddox won 19, Nagel won 20, Smoltz won 14, or Smoltz won 15, Glavine won 14. I don't know how the hell Glavine only won.
So 68.
14 games that
68 wins from 4 starters.
Yeah.
You can live with that.
Yeah. All these guys were fucking insane. I don't know how Maddox didn't win the Cy Young that year.
Didn't Kevin Brown win in 97? Didn't he have like a 1.8 ERA or some shit?
It might have been Randy Johnson or Pedro Martinez.
Well, Randy Johnson was still in the Mariners in 97.
Pedro won. Fair enough. He probably had an insane year.
Kevin Brown had a great year that year too. He's the reason. Well, one of the big reasons the Marlins won that World Series.
He is maybe the most underrated pitcher of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Running into that guy in the playoffs in back-to-back years because he was on the fucking Padres in 98. That was a nightmare.
Everybody, he was just, because of the style of pitching, was disrespected. Like everybody was still used to a traditional power pitching right-hander, and he was the first guy to come out throwing 97 sinkers.
Yeah.
And people were just like, oh, you can't do that in baseball. It's like, well, everybody does that in baseball now.
Yeah. Pedro had a 1.9 ERA and won 17 games. That's fine.
Yeah.
Maddox might have been able to beat him if he had gotten that 20th win, considering it was in the 90s, but whatever. Kyle Wright to the IL. That sucks. Thankfully, we have pitching depth, but I really like him, and I think he high upside, not necessarily Spencer Strider upside.
No, but I think he's a solid, mid-3 ERA, 15-game winner every year, but he's clearly not healthy right now.
No.
And I don't know what that interaction he had with
that was weird, right?
Well, what I heard is that he told our pitching coach that it felt weird, but he didn't want to come out of the game, so he just kept pitching, but now it's getting uncomfortable. He's like, and homeboy got fucking pissed. He's like, no, you should have told me before this inning started, asshole.
Yeah, Kranitz was like yelling at him, really gesturing a lot, had to pull. Originally, it was just a pitching coach meeting. Then Snicker had to come out. He pulled Snicker to the side. It was one of the more bizarre mound meetings I've seen.
But that's what it was. It was like he didn't want to let the team down or go back on the IL, so he just kept throwing the ball. I'm like, dude, no, man.
Yeah,
that's not. Like, you're fucking 26 years old. You've got probably a $250 to $300 million worth of contract left in your career. Don't be an idiot.
Right, and it's way different than Charlie Morton breaking his leg in Game 1 of the World Series and maybe not kind of realizing
that's your leg, dude. It's not your shoulder or your elbow.
Right.
Like a fucking who cares if your lower body gets fucked up, you can deal with that as a pitcher.
And on this team especially, like, there's so much depth. You're not letting anyone down.
Yeah, but I understand wanting to be on the field.
For sure.
To be honest.
100%.
And that's the reason they're taking it so slow with Soroka as well. because he's hyper competitive.
Yeah.
He's like
Soroka, by the way, who I think is a year younger than Kyle Wright.
Yeah, he reminds me of Maddox in the competitive stuff. Like he wants, and Strider as well. Strider's like this too. He just wants to be perfect every single game.
Yeah.
And for those guys, like they have a tendency to continue going out there when they shouldn't. So, that's the coach's job to manage that. But you can't manage it unless the guy fucking tells you. Because his velocity in the first inning was 95. It was normal. And then it started to creep down a little bit. I don't know how actively they keep track of that shit. But if I'm the pitching coach these days for players, the way they fucking treat their arms, it's like if I see a guy throwing 95 in the first and second inning, and then the third inning he comes out throwing 91, I'm like, you're out already.
Yeah.
Like, fuck this. You're out of the game. Let's go get some X-rays and MRIs done.
Yeah.
Because it's too mumuch of an indicator that something's wrong.
And now he's back on the IL. Fortunately for him, he has a 20-win season under his belt.
Yeah.
That which will help him make more money in the future, either through arbitration or contracts. But yeah, that sucks. Darno's still out, but he'll be back soon. And then honestly, God damn, dude, there have been some scares the last couple of days. Acuña pulled from 2 different games, and then Michael Harris pulled from a game for that weird land he had after first base.
It looks like he may have hyperextended his knee just a little bit, but he's fine. That's not that big a deal. But
he's fine. What is a big deal to me is, asshole, you were up like 9 runs.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Like, you don't need to leg out a base hit.
Even if you do, that's not the way you fucking leg out base hits.
He, by the way, did the same shit we've been screaming about for 2 years. The fucking stretch your leg.
Lunging at the end does not get you to the bag quicker.
No.
Like the physics. We should just have. I need to call John Brinkus and just make a video of this breaking down the physics and old school ESPN sports science thing, and then mail it to these assholes.
It's crazy.
I actually did this when I was in the Army. So dudes would speed through the area where you would drive around to park your Humvees and gas up your Humvees on operations, and they would speed a little bit. And I wrote a mathematical formula on the board in the motor pool down there that showed that they're only saving like 1.1 seconds by going a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Like this is how much time you're saving by doing that. And in the meantime, you're running over shit. So stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At any rate, I think Ronald Acuña is just kind of dramatic, to be honest. Like, he got hit in the upper shoulder blade and got an MRI. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? It's all muscle up there. I've seen you without your shirt on a bunch of times. That's all muscle up there. You can't fucking get hurt up there.
He's so fucking funny. Like, he just, anytime something happens, he just takes his time. You know what I mean? And like gets a little dramatic. It is what it is.
But he does. I mean, I understand the frustration too, because the Marlins and the Mets hit him constantly.
Yeah.
You can't let that happen. Like, Strider needs to fuck somebody up. I don't know when they play the Mets next. I think it's soon, actually. Let me see here. They go. Oh no, actually, it's gonna be a minute.
We get the Phillies end of the month.
It's never been a problem with the Phillies. They get the Mets on D-Day, June 6th.
Okay.
Strider should drill somebody right in the fucking rib cage. But, to be honest, Alonso gets hit more than anybody in baseball, I think, right? Isn't he leading the league? So maybe hit him since he's used to it.
He gets hit a lot. Starling Marte, actually, is the one that gets hit a ton. And he is similar to Acuña in that he had a lot of bad outcome, a lot of unlucky.
He always gets hit in the hands. Like, Alonso gets hit in the butt and back.
Right.
And Acuña and Marte get hit in the hands almost every time they get hit. It's somewhere in their fucking hands. It sucks, man.
Real quick, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but the Braves are literally like right in the middle of their really rough schedule. Mm-hmm. 16 games through, they're 10-6. Series wins over the Padres and Mets. They got swept by the Astros, which sucks, but they went 6-1 against the Marlins, the Marlins do not suck, by the way.
Now they're good.
And that's exactly what you weird way to do it, but that's exactly what you want to see. I think I'll take 10-6 against those teams all fucking day.
Delco's wearing a Marlin shirt today.
Look at that.
Fucking traitor.
And then now the back half is even worse than the front half, though. We catch the Orioles in this series. The Orioles are in second place in the AL East, only behind the Rays, who are playing out of their minds. Blue Jays, the whole AL East is above 500. The Blue Jays, very good team. Rangers in first place in the West. The Mariners, who don't have a great record right now, but that's a super talented roster. Mm-hmm. Then we get the Dodgers and Phillies. The only sort of break is a series against the Red Sox. They're 19-14, but unlike they're kind of the inverse of the Mariners. The Mariners bad record, good roster. Red Sox good record, I think bad roster.
Yeah, we're going up against their two worst pitchers as well, Pivetta and Bello. At least statistically so far this year, they're both 5 ERA and higher.
Yeah.
So that should be a fun 5-game series. For all the talent that Baltimore has, pitching is not the best. And we've been hitting the ball pretty well lately, so I expect that one to we could ring off 5 in a row right here. We'll see about that. At Toronto is different. I mean, that's
tough.
But we have Strider, Elder, Morton going in those games, so I'm not too concerned about that. We'll see how it goes.
In Texas, who knows? Because I don't really have a good read on the Rangers. They are talented.
Lot of hits, man. And some of those young pitchers are starting to work out for them. DeGrom's going to be on the IL for another fucking 4 weeks. I think they said at minimum or some shit like that.
Sure.
So
we'll miss him, I guess.
Like that dude's not an asset on your team.
No,
like you should Mike Hampton him. You should fucking not sign him. Or who else used to do that? That left-handed dude that threw a no-hitter for the Astros. What the fuck's his name? With the big beard.
Oh, Dallas Keuchel?
Dallas Keuchel, yeah. They did that with him.
He won a Cy Young
years.
with the Astros.
Yeah. They did that with him a couple years, just sign him after the break, basically.
He was on that 2019 Braves team as well.
Yeah. I think you got to start treating DeGrom kind of like a late season asset because I don't know when the last time he made it through a full season was.
It sucks. He should have been a Hall of Famer, but he won't be. I mean, he just doesn't have the volume of work to do it. It's not the Hall of Talented, right? Like staying on the field is a talent too. So it'll be an interesting back half. Catch the Dodgers and Phillies as well, which will be tough. Which brings me to the final thing. I don't remember if we actually got to this point last week, so I put it in again. What are you just seeing around the league so far? We were talking about it before the show started. The Cardinals seem fucked for starters.
Yeah, I think I really do think that the Cardinals need to immediately start a rebuild. They should trade Paul Goldschmidt. They should trade Tyler O'Neill and see what they can get from those two guys, probably.
Yep.
And then just keep the rest of this young core and see what they can do. Arenado, I think, is signed to a slightly longer deal than Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt's deal is over end of next season.
The only thing with Arenado is I don't know that he wants to sit through another rebuild like he did with the Rockies, who were in a perpetual state of uselessness.
Sure. Yeah, but if you trade, they're not that far away. If you trade Goldschmidt and O'Neill, you can get Major League Baseball. You can get Major League caliber guys right now to come back there.
And they do have Walker in AAA, and the rest of they have a good defense. I mean, Edman. Who's their shortstop and second baseman? Edman's one of them.
Edman and Paul DeJong.
Yeah, Edman, and then you got Lars Nootbaar and all those dudes. Their outfield, the defense is there. Wilson Contreras is on the team as well. You obviously want to hang on him. You're right. Honestly, they should trade Goldschmidt. Maybe punt on this year, get pieces for Goldschmidt and O'Neill. Yeah. Wait for Walker to come back up, or let Walker come back up now and just get. I think it's only May. They don't play in a great division. I don't trust the fucking Pirates. I do trust the Brewers, and I kind of trust the Cubs.
The Cubs look good, yeah.
Even they're 15-16, but that roster's shaping out pretty well. But yeah, I think the Cardinals. I mean, they have the third least wins in baseball. The Royals and the fucking Athletics are the only teams with fewer wins.
Yeah, well, they got 3 guys in their rotation right now with ERAs over 5. Adam Wainwright, who hasn't pitched all year.
Yeah.
Because he got hurt in WBO doing some shit. And then they have one guy that's doing kind of okay, and that's Jordan Montgomery. He's 2-4. But the other numbers, 3.34 ERA, 123 whip for a starter, that's not bad.
Montgomery's high velo too, isn't he? Like crazy high velo.
Yeah, he's a lefty, and he throws pretty hard. I think he throws 97. So, you got one starter on a team, and you have an okay offense. And I mean, there's nothing.
They were before the shift ban like the best defensive team. They have Gold Gloves all over that outfield now, or all over the field. Now, granted, we just suggested trading 2 of them in Goldschmidt and O'Neill, but Arenado easily the best defensive third baseman in baseball. Wilson Contreras, a great defensive catcher, even better hitting catcher. And then Edman and DeJong. I mean, their middle of the infield's good. Their outfield defense is good. I think Walker. He's obviously in AAA right now. I think he is not rated that great defensively at the moment, but he's very athletic.
Yeah.
So that's the type of thing where it's teachable with him, right?
Yeah, I mean, they could trade Goldschmidt and teach him first base and bring him down for a while. He's a big man, so it's like 6'5", 250 or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to do something here. I mean, you can't just ride with this. And look, you don't want to overreact either because maybe they got out to a bad start. But when you're looking at this starting rotation, there's no fucking light at the end of this tunnel.
Well, and I think the shift going away fucked them because their entire rotation is contact dudes, like Miles Mikolas and stuff like that. Like those, they don't strike people out.
Yeah,
it's all hitting into the shift and whatever else. And I really think that no team has been hurt more by that than the Cardinals, which is bizarre because their defense is still so good. But when your pitching is so fucking contact dependent, even if those pitchers have talent, I think Miles Mikolas is actually a decent middle of the rotation guy. But like, you can have such bad luck, and that can pile up so much. So yeah, they're kind of screwed. I think they should put on the year. The Mets really don't seem like they're in a great place right now.
No, I think I think we might be seeing the end of Max Scherzer here.
Yeah.
He's looked really, really bad this year so far, and I think just deep playoff runs coming back on short rest 2 years ago have kind of fucked him up.
Yeah.
And I think it might be over for him, which is unfortunate because he's, I enjoy the style of pitching, the competitiveness and all that stuff. We haven't seen much of Verlander this year. He's had one start so far. Also old as shit. I mean, this is a very New York sports team situation.
Yeah.
With a bunch of overpaid old guys who are injured.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just I'm not in any way concerned about the Mets, and neither should you.
No, really. I don't buy the Pirates either.
It seems unlikely they'll continue this. Because they're not the Rays, you know what I mean? But
right.
They do have some good young pieces. Like Brian Hayes is really good.
And Reynolds
Reynolds is really good. They've got a couple of good young pitchers. As I mentioned before, Bednar is doing really well. Ji-Hwan Bae is doing really well this year so far. So they've got pieces, but it's like that'll get you through a month or two. You know what I mean? This is not sustainable.
I mean, build as many wins as you can and just try to, tread water.
Yeah, hope for the best. I mean, the NL Central is the weakest it's ever been right now.
Yes. The only team, I said the Cubs too, but the only team that really feels remotely formidable in that division is the Brewers. And right now, who's out? Woodruff? One of their two elite pitchers is out.
Yeah. Well, so is Adrian Hauser's out too. But it's a groin and not an arm injury. Yeah, Woodruff is out. And I don't know that he's pitched more than one game this year. I believe I think it's only one game he's pitched. So, looked good in that one game, but
yeah, I mean, but they have a good roster, and actually they have.
Oh no, he pitched two.
What?
He pitched 2 games so far.
Okay, they have. I would say if we were talking about Iglesias and Clase, maybe the other person that belongs in the closer discussion is Devin Williams, who is excellent for the Brewers. So good that they felt okay trading Josh Hader, who was like the best closer in baseball for.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well.
It did. I do think the Rangers are legit, even with DeGrom doing DeGrom shit. Obviously, Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, great. Adolis Garcia, fantastic. I like the Rangers. I desperately want the Angels.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think everybody's kind of rooting for them, to be honest. Although it's been like one of those years where already Trout and Ohtani have had great standout games and losses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, that happens all the time anyways. It's and, Rendon has been playing better. No power so far this year, but he's driving in runs. 14 RBI in a month. That's good. That's like a fucking 85, 90 RBI pace. You can deal with that. Renfroe is having a good power year, driving in runs and stuff. So they've got a shot. I think the AL West is pretty. We'll see what happens when that midget in Houston gets back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they've been kind of banged.
Yeah.
Because they've been kind of banged up this year, so it's hard to really gauge what's going on in that division at the moment.
Agreed. That division has been weird and wide open. Other than getting free wins against the A's, it's a interesting situation. And then the Phillies, I think they're
Altuve, McCormick, and Brantley have all been hurt most of the year so far.
Yeah.
And it's like, but Yordan Alvarez is he's the one person that I definitely don't want to see in the playoffs in a big moment. I don't know what it is about that dude, but he just fucking hits game-winning home runs.
He's and like ones that cripple your soul.
Yeah.
It's weird actually. Jose Abreu has been low-key terrible for Houston.
Yeah, he has. That was weird. I thought, well, I mean, who knows, right? He's hitting in a different part of the order. It's a new place, but he's been in the AL Central his entire career, so you would think he'd be used to hitting there.
I mean, he's got a career 131 WRC plus, and he is WRC plusing 46 right now.
Oof. That's not good.
I assume they expected him to be about 80 to 90 points above that. His on base percentage is 267. He's slugging 264. I mean, god damn, dude. So is what that is, I guess. And then Phillies, I think they're legit. They're going to go on a run at some point. Hopefully they don't threaten for the division, but they, I think, are much better than their record indicates.
They are, but they got big problems right now. Ranger Suarez has not pitched at all so far this year. And Taijuan Walker, who came over from the Mets, has been fucking terrible. I think he's got like a 7 ERA.
Well, Walker's another guy like Michaelis or the entire Cardinals rotation who is probably getting hurt by the lack of shift because he's not a strikeout guy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and
by the way, not a strikeout guy and moved to a much worse defense.
Yeah, especially right now, Alec Boehm and Bryson Stott are playing the right side of the infield, which is where most of that shit happens. Now they got Trey Turner up the middle, which might be an improvement over Lindor. I don't know about that, to be honest. They might be 1-2.
Might call it a wash, maybe. I think Lindor is probably better defensively, but I'm not going to say that Trey Turner is a bad defender.
Yeah, well, he's got to have better range. He's the fastest white human being I've ever seen in my life. But Harper's back now. He's kind of getting into a little groove. Rob Manfred has decided to fuck with him for some reason. So when he gets there is a specific device the orthopedic surgeon made for his for him to put on when he's on base and not swinging a bat, and they're not giving him time to do it for some reason.
They won't pause the pitch clock.
Like if it's only for the first pitch, why can you not do this?
Yeah.
And at most, he's going to get on base 6 times in one game, right? So you can't delay for 10 seconds 6 times a game for 1 minute. We can't add 1 minute for that. It's fucking bullshit.
And more likely, it's twice a game.
Almost always it'll be 2 or less times a game. Right. So it's like, what the fuck are we even talking about here?
And that getting on base includes home runs. So you're probably talking averaging one, probably 2 a game.
Yeah, at most, because he walks a lot too. Yeah. But he's only played 2 games so far, but he's 3 for 7. That's about what you expect out of him.
Yeah. I think they're dangerous. I think, and that top of the rotation is all. I mean, Nola Wheeler's that's a nightmare. Now if Suarez doesn't come back or pitches like shit,
they're fucked.
Walker's Walker. That was a bad pickup considering the shift situation. But,
he's a guy like if the Braves picked him up, I'd be all right with that because the defense is really solid pretty much everywhere on the field. But for a team that doesn't prioritize defense, it's a weird pickup, to be honest.
I mean, I guess you think he's going to eat innings, but you don't want dude eating innings at 5 ERA.
Yeah, fuck that.
That's all I got for today. See you later.